Welcome everyone, I'm Mike Chalice for GamingLag.com, and this is Video Games on Trial, the show dedicated to holding video games and their developers responsible for the problems they may or may not have, regardless of how small. This episode will be slightly different than the last, as I'm not taking on one game, but rather an entire genre. That genre is the most popular type of video game in the world right now. That's right, I'm taking on MOBA'S. A small disclaimer before we begin, I have played many MOBAs over the years, including the big two of League of Legends and Dota 2, and although they are not my favorites, I have a deep love and respect for how fun and strategic these games can be. But over the course of this episode, we will be going over the good, the bad, and the ugly about these games, and we're going to start with the good. MOBAs have a tremendous amount of instant satisfaction. You level up your hero from 1 to whatever the maximum level is in about a 30 to 45 minute match. This takes one of the main hooks of a 50-hour RPG and condenses it into that short amount of time. This will have you jumping out of one game and directly into the next. It's also incredibly simple to understand. Destroy the enemy team's base, and you win. Let me explain just how easy that is. First, there are 3 lanes, a top, middle, or bottom, or depending on the camera angle of the game, a left, middle, and right lane. Minions spawn from your base and rush through these lanes towards the enemy team towers, to which there are 2. Behind those towers, there are also things called inhibitors, which you will have to destroy in order to do any damage to the core. With your minions, you will push toward the towers using them as a distraction to make sure you do not take damage. At the same time, all the while the enemy team heroes will be trying to do the same to you. There are branching paths between each of these lanes with small minions that you can kill to level up your character in a tactic called jungling. This is a great way to level up your character without direct confrontation with the enemy heroes. After that, it's a very simple game of cat and mouse. You'll make sure you are pushing lanes while always trying to have the upper hand in the numbers game. If somebody is pushing your left lane with 2 people, you make sure there is at least 2 people there to defend or 3 to push back, while pushing other lanes at the same time. Wait, does that all sound not really that simple? That's because it isn't, and that's part of the bad. MOBAs are notoriously inaccessible for new players. Being a new player in one of these games is the direct definition of being a fish out of water. From their robust amount of heroes to the insanely complex strategies, a person can be overwhelmed very quickly. Let's take League of Legends for one example. There are over 100 heroes in League of Legends to choose from. How is a new player supposed to choose a character that they may actually enjoy playing, let alone get good with? On top of just finding a hero, in most MOBAs you have a pretty diverse item game. These items allow you to customize your character even further, such as more health, or attack speed, or critical strike, or armor, or anything really. For those reasons, veterans of the game say it takes 20, 30, or even 40 hours before the game becomes fun, and that's because that's how long it takes to get even remotely good. But it's okay, right? We're gamers. And the second you jump into a game and somebody finds out that you're new, they're going to take you under their wing and tutor you, because that's what gamers do. Unfortunately, when it comes to MOBAs, the communities couldn't be more different. This brings us to the ugly. These games have infamously toxic communities. I'm not trying to throw everybody under the bus. I understand that it takes just a few bad apples to make a whole community seem toxic. But in these games, it seems like we have an entire bushel of bad apples. And I'm not just talking about telling you that you're new or telling you to uninstall the game, no. I'm talking about threatening you or your family, using racial slurs, making fun of people's gender or sexual orientation. It's absolutely despicable. One of the reasons this continues to be such a problem is because the punishment for doing so is so lackluster that the punishment for leaving games early too many times is often more severe. It doesn't make a lot of sense, because if it was to be done in real life, somebody threatening your family could be charged and prosecuted. But with the anonymity of a gamertag and hiding behind a keyboard, the punishment is maybe a 30-minute ban. This is something that needs to change for MOBAs to continue to thrive. And I know that sounds ridiculous, because millions of people play MOBAs every single day. But remember, MMOs 5 years ago, they were all the rage. They were all anyone could talk about. And between the big 3, World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy and EverQuest, there are more than 20 million people playing every month, most of which were paying for a subscription. Since then, though, they have been hemorrhaging players, and that is mainly because they are also inaccessible to new players. Take our own Sam Landry. He wanted to play World of Warcraft with me and a friend, so he bought the game and started a character. And after 4 or 5 short hours, he realized he was only level 18 and it was going to take him 10 plus more hours before he could even be at the same level as us. Upon realizing this, he decided to just uninstall the game, as he wasn't going to put that much time into something before it became fun. And if that sounds familiar, it's the same thing that's happening with MOBAs. If they don't fix their problems and make it much easier and more accessible for new players, they're not going to continue operating at the numbers they operate in now. And this brings me to my verdict. I find MOBAs guilty of being inaccessible to new players and incredibly toxic to anyone who is brave enough to try them, and sentence all developers making them to forge a physical banhammer as a symbol that the punishment for toxic players and despicable actions in games will become so severe that people will think twice before using them. I'm not talking about 30 minutes or even day-long bans. I want weeks, months, years, and permanently. Repeat offenders should have their accounts deleted, and if they just make new accounts, then you should block their IP, because there is enough ugly in the world. We do not need it in our gaming communities.